All right, hello everyone, and welcome to my another video tutorial. And this is going to be a live session, and we're going to be developing a generic pipeline with ASP.NET Core 2.2, and we're going to be using different technologies as well for like PowerShell for as a shell environment. We're going to be using Git as the source control system, and we're going to be using Rider, JetBrains Rider as the IDE, and all that stuff. And so what's a generic pipeline, by the way? So in my mind, it is a pipeline that you pump messages into, and based on your customizations, it operates on the messages you sent, and then changes them or alter them, whatever, and then eventually it saves them somewhere. It's really up to you. It's really up to you, like how you're going to configure that. So the generic pipeline will facilitate how you want to process your messages, and that's the idea. And it's going to be an extensible, right? So you can write your own plugins to it, and then it processes them through that pipeline. It's not 100% formed in my mind yet, so I gotta as I develop this, I'm sure that the actual thing will reveal itself. But again, this is a live video, right? And then it's not scripted, so you're gonna be like looking at kind of a slower video. So let me give you a couple of warnings before we start. And the first one is, this is a live coding session. That means it's gonna be a lot slower than a regular pre-scripted and pre-edited, right, videos. So but I think it's more valuable because you're gonna be able to see an engineer's thought process, and it's sometimes painful, right? I'm trying to like think out loud throughout these videos, so that you just see not something being developed, but also how it's been developed, how it's been thought. And but again, it's gonna be a lot slower. Also, again, this is a live session, so I will forget things, and I will try to remember it by looking at them, looking at the documentation. So you're gonna be seeing me like looking at the documentation, reading the documentation, and trying to remember things, and that's just all part of this, live session videos, live session codings, or code sessions, whatever, coding sessions. And third warning is, it's sometimes really hard to talk when you think. So if you see me like talking gibberish, if you don't understand what I say, it's probably I'm thinking hard to understand or to implement something, and thinking out loud at that moment is not easy. So if you're a live visitor, go ahead and ask your questions. Shoot me with your questions. That's why what this live sessions are for. Then last warning is, a lot of my viewers are from Turkey, and they're like, or Turkish-speaking countries. And I've been doing videos mostly in Turkish, but I decided this particular series I want to do it in English. And yes, I live in Utah. So not quite sure how many people understand this video and what I say, especially from the Turkish speaking countries, but I'll try to make things as simple as possible. And so I mean, yeah, that's it. All right, so even though you're not a .NET developer, I'm sure that there are gonna be things you can learn from this video series, and I'm not quite sure how many videos we're looking at right now, but that's part one. I think it's gonna be like, I don't know, 5 or 6 at least, because I want to make it. I want to keep them short so that you can watch them without being bored. But that's pretty much all. That's pretty much all the warnings. And So when I look at the project, if you look at the project right now, actually, it's under OSS and generic pipeline. You'll see that I already have all those projects created. The problem is that, I mean, not the problem, but the reason is that actually I made the first part last night, and I realized that I was too tired to for that video, and I realized that I should make it private and start from scratch. But I don't want to like run all the commands that I ran before, like creating the .NET projects. I'm just gonna quickly go over those steps that I did. But I have the project right now. I have the project on my GitHub account as well. So if you want to see them, go ahead and I'll show you the link and page. But that's it. That's only warnings and information. Whatever about this video. So let's start it. So we have 3 projects in our solution. Our solution name is generic pipeline, and we have actually 2. I was going to create another one, and that's for testing, for performance testing. And I'll create that one right now so that you can at least see how you can create a new project with the .NET CLI command line tool, whatever, or tool chain. But here we have unit tests. We have, actually, let me show you. Okay. Yeah, that's better. We have a web project, and that's gonna be our ASP.NET Web API project. And I'll show you the template, which template I used. And the other one is generic pipeline, or unit tests. And my keyboard is loud, by the way. I'm using Black Widow, Razer Black Widow green switches, or keyboard with the green switches. So I apologize if it's too loud for you, but that's the keyboard that I'm using right now. If I get so many complaints about it in the comment section, I'll try to replace it with something, maybe Corsair's K95 with brown switches, which are relatively, not so much, but relatively, I think, slightly silent, or more silent. All right. So if you look at the new, you see the .NET new command is the command that you use for creating new projects or new solution, and then the API, sorry, the project template. These are templates. I mean, what you're looking at is templates. You don't have to use them, but they're there. You can create an empty project, and you can configure it yourself. But templates are a lot easier to use. And if you look at this is the project, the template I use for the web project here, and that's a web API. So as its name suggests, right, it's a web API, so you expose APIs to other world. So that's one thing. And the other one for test, I use MS test, not XUnit or NUnit or XUnit. I feel more comfortable with MS test, but I've seen people using XUnit or NUnit. I don't know, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I think. And then I use a mock framework, MOQ, with the unit tests. I haven't downloaded them yet, but as we go, we'll just configure the projects and download the NuGet packages, right? So the other one is for the performance testing. I really care about performance. We're gonna be using. We don't have the template for it, but I'm gonna be using just a simple console application, and then the console application will be running our performance tests by using benchmark.net a library, and I'll show you what that is momentarily. So .NET new, again, it's a console application, and the name of the application or the project will be generic pipeline.performance tests. Okay, that looks better. And some of you might wonder, like, the reason why I actually separate these tests, right? I mean, into different projects. And the reason is that I don't want to combine long-running tests such as UI automation, such as performance tests, in something that that's supposed to run really fast, and that's the unit test, right? So I want to keep them separated in the pipeline, the build pipeline. And for instance, I don't want to run performance tests if they take too much time every day, or sorry, not every day, in every merge to the branch, right? I want to run them perhaps maybe a couple times a day. And other one is like UI automation. If it's too slow, I mean, it will be slow compared to unit tests. So I don't want to like combine them and then make my entire testing experience a lot slower. So that's the idea behind it. All right, so we're supposed to have another project here, but the problem is that if you just add the project like that, and if you go here, this the writer, you see that it's not showing up here because I've opened the solution, not the folder structure, and the solution has no idea currently about that project. So we have to add that project to the solution, right? So let's go back here and say git .NET SLN. We have an SLN command, and then you can specify which solution file that you're going to use. I'm going to skip it. If you skip the name of this solution file, it actually uses or finds whatever in the current directory and use that solution file. So you say add, I want to add a projected solution, and then you say generic pipeline, right? Generic pipeline performance test. Okay, and then slash, again, generic pipeline performance tests .cs proj. Okay, now our solution knows about this performance stuff, and it appears right here, and that's what I want. All right, so let's go ahead and do like add. And currently, by the way, I'm on master branch because I'm the only contributor of this project, and I don't care about creating new branches for them. If I'm the only person in a project, I usually work in master branch unless I want to experiment something. And if I want to experiment something, I go ahead and create a new branch. And if I like what I see, I go ahead and merge that into the master. But I usually spend my my entire life in master branch if I am the only developer in the project. If you're not the only developer in the project, do not work in master branch. That's the stupidest idea you will ever do in your life. Do not do that. You want to disturb your other members by working in the master branch, and they have to, continuously merge what your changes into their branch, and they're gonna see conflicts all the time. So don't do that. Not all the time, but if it's a small project, it's probably all the time. If it's a big project, it's more likely. All right. So the question is, will you write unit tests for this project? Yes, I have a unit test project right there. And then I may use, I may use Azure too. Maybe some services in Azure like Service Bus. I'm not quite sure. I'm not telling them I'm gonna use it. I may use it. And then perhaps as a database solution, I may use Cosmos DB. I gotta look at the prices. I have an account, but I'm not gonna pay. I don't want to pay for this, right? So I may use it if it's free. So I may use the Cosmos DB as in cloud as the storage area for after like everything is done and all the messages are processed and went through, all the components in the process pipeline, and you want to save it somewhere, right? That's one location. If it's not free, I may choose, MongoDB. I think I like MongoDB, and I'll try to containerize these things. So we're gonna have a MongoDB container. We're gonna have this guy over here in a separate container. I'm gonna be using Ubuntu containers for this is a .NET Core project, so it's supposed to work right in a different platform. I choose Linux environment for my .NET Core projects most of the time. So here we go. Because it's a good idea to work with Linux if you use containers. So. And we're going to have a Docker file. In fact, let's go ahead and create a Docker file to say to the viewers that this is going to be containerized. Okay. So let's go to did I merge it? No. Let's say branch, not branch, but so let's see. Okay. I want to add everything, and I have some aliases, by the way. So what you see, like cam means commit all with a message. So cm means commit with a message, right? So I say edit performance tests project and update the solution. Okay, so I'll try to push them as much as possible. So if you want to see the code, go ahead and go to, let's see. All right, so GitHub, and this, and generic pipeline is the location you're supposed to go, right? This is the location, and hopefully I'm gonna put something in there in the readme.md file. Okay, good. All right, so let's go ahead and just to take a quick look at the projects. I'm gonna spend my time mostly in web from now on. And no, I'm not gonna do TDD, or actually I'm gonna do well, not exactly TDD. I'm not gonna do test first. I have reasons for that. I'm not gonna discuss them right now, but you're gonna be seeing like I will be adding my stuff first, and then we'll try to write unit tests around them. But to make the system and the entire system unit testable, I'm gonna be using dependency injection extensively, and it has to be that way, right? Because and then you'll see me creating interfaces. Even there's only one class, I will be creating an interface for that, and so that I can easily mock it, right? And all that stuff. So, and thankfully though, the .NET Core has its own dependency injection stuff. I was thinking to use something else, but I think for the scope of this project, I think it's fine. If you realize it's not fine, it's not enough, then we can go ahead and use a different one. And the one that I was thinking to use was, what's that called? Yeah, I don't remember. I'll have to remember that. It's in my another project. We'll come back to that later. And as a logging framework, a logging, guys, it's extremely important for your applications, especially for a project like this. So you have to, whatever, all those things, you have to use a logging, and you have to log things, somewhere. That's the only way you can see what exactly happens without really debugging your application. And in production environment, you may not have that luxury to debug your application. And the only way for you to know what truly happened is to put logging stuff in correct places. And some of them are going to be informational, and some of them are going to be debug purposes. Some of them will log errors and exceptions and fatal errors and stuff like that. But you must know what happened. Okay, so, and for that, I'm gonna be using SerialLock. So it's a structural logging library. Again, we're gonna see all these things as we go along. So let's look at the program CS first, and this is where you see create a web host builder, and that's the web host that will host our application, right? And it has so much good things. And actually, let me show you where you can find the documentation for this thing as well, because I definitely recommend to go ahead and read those things if you haven't done so. So .NET Core has a great documentation these days. Let's actually do web host first. There are two types of hosts here. Yeah. Okay, let's move over here. So there are two types of hosts. One is generic host and the other one web host. And if you are using ASP.NET, you're going to be using web host. If you are using just a console application but want to have kind of a host type of environment where you can do dependency injection and all that stuff, and this is the generic host is way to go. And then you see all the, whatever you need, to be honest, here. And then when you say like create default builder, okay, that's what we did here, right? Create default builder, and notice that it accepts the arguments, so you can pass arguments to it through the command line, and you can change its behavior with this command arguments. And then so let's see what it does for us. And this thing is, does some built-in actions for us automatically. So it first configures Kestrel server. So we're going to be using Kestrel. We're not going to be depending on any Windows type of things, like no IIS Express, no IIS, just Kestrel, the built-in web server. And I've been using that, and it's quite amazing, okay? And later it sets the content route to the path returned by directory get current directory. So you probably need that, because if you want to serve static files, that's the way to go, right? You gotta know where these static files are located. And it loads host configuration from, okay, so it gets the environment variable. It's called ASP.NET Core _ and host variables like our ASP.NET Core _, and then you may have different type of host variables, but the one we're gonna look at is ASP.NET Core environment, and that tells us if this project is running in a development machine or a production machine, because it matters. I'll show you why it matters pretty soon. And then it gets the command line arguments and parses them and do something with them, right? And also it loads configuration, and configuration is highly important in your project. You want to be able to configure things out from outside world, and one way of doing this is app settings.json. It actually loads those application JSON, or loads this application configuration stuff, at least from app settings JSON, an app setting environment. If you're in dev, whatever environment you are in, that's the pattern. And the app setting is actually this is the app settings I'm talking about. And if you're in development environment, you can that's another app setting. You can have development environment specific application settings here, and then you can use those configurations throughout your application. Let's go back. And also if you have a circuit manager, whatever, it gets the environment variables. So it reads from environment variables too. If you have an environment variable, it reads it. You can use that environment variable right in your project, and that's important, right? And environment variables are, in case you are new to this type of things, environment variables. It depends on where you look at it, but in Windows, for instance, and one environment variable location is this guy, and that's a system level, system scope environment variable, and that's important, right? And it will be reading these environment variables too. Let's put this aside. Or you can also specify as like a session scope, like this session scope environment variable, that for ASP.NET project to read. All right, so it configures login as well, all right? And when running behind an IIS, we don't care about that, because we're not going to be using IIS or IIS Express for that matter. And its service provider options validate scope to ensure if the environment is development. For more information, scope validation, and we'll look at that later. But that's the steps that it does for us. Otherwise, if you don't use create default builder stuff, you're gonna have to do all those steps manually, right? Okay, so this is the thing. This is the place where you can find more information about this host builder. Yeah, so much stuff. Okay, let's put this aside. So we use a startup file, and let me explain what a startup file does quickly, and then we'll continue, right? The first one is there are two vital methods here. There are some variations to them, but nevertheless, there are two vital methods here. And the first one is configure services, and the other one is configure. Okay. for beginners, they may be confusing. Like, is that you should have this configure and then like you do something in here and then you configure what you do in this configure services? Is that how it works? Well, not exactly. I wish I don't know. We can think about a different name, and I'll explain why they might have been named them differently. So the configure services is where you add your dependencies or register your dependencies. And then service here simply means a dependency that you depend and that you want to inject. So you say I wanna register. So if you basically say tell the IOC container, the built-in IOC container, is that if someone requests this interface, go ahead and supply them with this concrete class. So that's the thing. And I know there's some sound coming from upstairs. And the other one is you also can configure the existing things here. So if someone else, like the framework, for instance, does a lot of dependency injection for you here and there, and you can swap them if you want to use on your own class for a specific built-in interface. You can go ahead and use it. Oh man, it's just my wife is cleaning upstairs and the cleaner makes so much sound. It'll end soon, guys. Sorry about that. She has no idea that there's so much sound coming downstairs. All right, so the other one is you also configure your own stuff as well, and maybe set some stuff. You'll see how I use it, and you'll see how it makes sense. So maybe configure services are fine as long as you understand that service is a dependency. And the configure here is that it's a request pipeline, request and response pipeline. If you guys remember the old days, we used to have HTTP modules, right? And the HTTP modules is like a stacked components, the pipeline components, right? It works as a pipeline, and then request comes in and it passes through all of those HTTP modules and then get processed along the way, and eventually your method, your stuff, took it and do some more stuff on it, right? This is the configure is the same step as well. So you specify all of these things that will happen on your request, and then the same path will be reversed when a response comes back. So that's one. You either can process the response and request in your middleware. These are called middlewares, or you can ignore the response. You only care about request. We may write our own custom stuff here as well. We'll see. All right, these are the things. Okay, let's keep moving. Okay, so let's add the things that I want through a NuGet. So let's do some NuGet stuff here. I want mock. Let's see. I want it from, get out of here. I want to get from, so you can, here's the deal. You can specify different sources for your NuGet packages. As you see here, I have NuGet.org and some other things. And then you can choose which source you want to get it from. So if you have your own if you're using Visual Studio DevOps, you can actually have a private NuGet registry there as well. And I mean, for the projects, for the libraries, packages that you don't want to share with other people, with the public, you can use that custom artifacts registry. They're called artifacts, and they can have like npm stuff. They can have NuGet, Maven, and all that stuff. You can host all those things, all those packages, right in your DevOps, Visual Studio DevOps things, and that's amazing actually. They're pretty advanced with that. Anyway, so I want to get it from NuGet, and let's say add that mock to the unit tests. I don't like this pre-release checked because I don't want to get any pre-release things to my code. If you're an early adopter, if you want to test something, go ahead and use the pre-release, but otherwise I wouldn't recommend it because I had so many problems with the pre-release packages, as there are, and that's normal, it's not released, just so you know. All right, and I also want to my, let's see, my web, I want to get the SerialLock. It's kind of complicated, by the way. I mean, SerialLock has so many small packages that you gotta work with. But the first one is SerialLock, and again, by the way, my projects are .NET Core, and I gotta do a couple more things actually. I want to work with the latest minor version. So if you choose the latest major version, that's 7. But if you go with the latest minor version, that's 7.3, I believe. So you get all the benefits of minor versions as well. And I want to go with the latest minor version. And then you can also target like different frameworks here. You can target .NET Standard or .NET Core App. You can go with .NET Standard 2.0 or stuff like that, but I don't care, to be honest. I don't want to. This is a web application, so people are not going to run this in Windows or Mac or whatnot, right? It's going to be containerized, so all I care about something that works in a Linux container, and that's the .NET Core App 2.2. But again, I mean, you can do that. So there's a difference. There's two things you're gonna looking at, right? The target framework and runtime target. So target framework is basically, you say I want to be able to target multiple. If you can do multiple frameworks, but it's a little challenging. If you go with the multiple frameworks, it's challenging because let's say if you go with .NET and you go with .NET Core App, .NET Core at the same time, then if you try to use a library or a built-in class that has a native dependency in the let's say Windows, how are we gonna tell it? How are we gonna say if you build this project for this framework, you got somewhere you gotta say if this framework is selected, go ahead and use this code. If this framework is selected, go ahead and use this code. I don't know, most of the time you probably don't need that, but you have that option too. And the other one is runtime target, and the runtime target is that you can say build this project for Mac, build this project for Windows 32-bit, whatnot, and build this project for Linux. And, you can build this and publish that project for multiple environments. And the thing is, if you go with the .NET dependent or framework dependent way, you don't really have to worry about that, because your project, unless you haven't used any operating system specific type or something or code, you can run it with that stuff. But if you want to go like self-contained way, which means the target machine does not have to have the .NET framework or .NET stuff installed. It's not .NET, let's say .NET runtime libraries, I would call it, or .NET runtime installed, and you know, they have like the framework independent way or framework dependent way. They have their cons and pros, so you gotta choose which one, and we can explain later, you know, what the cons and pros are. But it's actually obvious, right? I mean, so anyways, that's good. Wait, did I change it? Latest major version, minor version, and I want to use it because I use like tuples and a lot. The new syntax for tuples, I really like them, and tuples are my the new tuple syntax and deconstruct methods in tuple are my new go-to return multiple values way. So I don't like there are times I don't want to create a class, then there are times I don't want to deal with dictionary, because dictionaries are good but they don't explain you much. But tuples are amazing. With the new tuple syntax is amazing, and I definitely recommend you guys to use it instead of dictionaries. And there, if you want to turn multiple values, not a dictionary format though, not like a, let's say a key value pair type of things, not a dictionary exactly, but key value pair. Go ahead and use a tuple syntax. Okay, so we have all this. So wait, did I install SerialLock? Okay, so let's go ahead and install SerialLock too. I will need this for just web. I don't care about the other one, loggings. I care about this one when it comes to loggings. So I need a SerialLock, and it's gonna be an ASP.NET project, so we need this guy as well. So let's go ahead and download them. All right, so that's all right. You come in. All right, so what else? I need ASP.NET Core so that I can easily say use SerialLock and stuff. Go ahead. And the thing is, again, I mean, this is a live session, right? And I don't do this all the time. I just do these things when I create a new project, and creating a new project is like 0.5% of my time in the company. So I create a project and that's it. I created a project once and then it's gone. So we develop that project, we work on the project, you configure all those things once and you forget about them. And that's so I may need to look at the documentation just to remind myself, you know, what I did and stuff like that. So again, this is how things works. All right, so SerialLock has this concept called syncs. So again, this SerialLock is really customizable, and you can basically say, I want this feature, I want this feature, and I want this feature, all that features, right? Not feature. And then you can combine them and say, okay, I want to save my logs to file. Go ahead and use SerialLock syncs file, right? That's a sync. So sync is things that you put in. So the logs that you put in is called sync in the SerialLock terminology. And if you want to output to the console, go ahead and use SerialLock syncs console. Or they even have Elasticsearch. You can actually log, or you can actually send things to Elasticsearch. And we use this for application insights. For instance, we use SerialLock to send things to the application insights. You can even send to Splunk. See, it's a great thing. It's a very full-fledged logging framework that you can log to multiple places with just one log statement. And that's the important part. Instead of saying, I want to log it to here, log it to there, with multiple lines of code in your logging, you only say logger, let's say log debug, and the SerialLock takes that and see which syncs that you used. You wanna send to application insights, it does that. To the console, does that. Does them all the time, automatically for you. So they're customizable, and you can customize that behavior with the app settings too. You can say, I want to read the configuration from the app settings. And that's really customizable. That's really amazing. Stuff, you guys. All right, so I got No, I don't need Splunk. I need file. Not file. Sorry. I want to write it to console first. Let's go ahead and add this to console. Add console to the project. And then again, if you want to have it a rolling file, so it rolls like kind of rotates, I believe. So you say I want to keep logs for 30 days. So the day 1, day 2, day 3, day 30. And when you exceed the day 30, it starts over. So it goes back day 1, day 2. So you basically keep the size of the logs. Excuse me. You keep the logs in a fixed amount, right? Instead of like enabling it to grow infinitely. And you don't want that. You don't want to take. You don't want your logs to take so much space in your containers or in your servers, right? So rolling file is a good option for that. It expires them. What else? So how much time do we have? Okay. And one more thing about this, and that's called enrichers or enrichers, whatever. So basically, they enrich your logs. So if you want to capture more information with each log, you have two options, right? You either say, with your logging statement, like log debug, log information, whatnot, you either capture that extra information but we want to capture for everything, all the logs you want to capture, the common information, right? You either do that, or you either use enrichers and say, and then enrich your logs in a common centralized location, and you say, capture this extra information with every log that I capture. That's an amazing thing because we use it, and we used quite a bit, to be honest. All right, guys, these are amazing things we got here. There's so much cool things. You can even use MS SQL as this sink. Look at that. Anyways, that's good. That's currently, for a beginner, that's what I want, and so I'll keep them there. What else I need? I think it's pretty much it right now. So you want to test this guy to see how it looks like. Let's see. And one more thing for the configuration, and that's the setting the environment variable. In my first video before this, which I made private, I tried to enable it, and I realized that actually what I did was not quite what I wanted. So I'll show you what that is, and because you probably will need it, right? Especially if you're on Windows machine. So let's say I'm gonna be using PowerShell. So I really like PowerShell. I really recommend PowerShell. It's an amazingly powerful scripting environment as well as a shell environment. So go ahead and learn it. I definitely recommend it. It's a cross-platform shell environment too. You can run this by using PowerShell Core, not Windows PowerShell, but PowerShell Core. You can run it on Linux, Mac, and Windows, and that's an amazing thing. All right, so set. So there's something called providers. I'll go ahead and run another bash here or shell here. And by saying that, by saying cd or set location, cd is just a alias for set location, and I can say it's like you basically now it's like you are in C environment or C drive or D drive, right? Now you are in environment drive. That means if I say ls, right? These are my environment variables. Now I treat them like they are files, and that's amazing. That's a provider syntax. So these guys like to be able to give you the same experience, same feeling on something that you can actually work like a hierarchical data. They created this. They created a common library like new item, set item, all that stuff, and then you use the same commands just in different like a drives. So, and then you can say get provider, I believe, get PS provider or something. That's the thing. And then these are the providers, and that's called provider. C drive is a provider. D drive is a provider, like this, guys. It's their drives. And we have an alias drive. We have these two registries. We have variables and functions and all the names and stuff like that. That's amazing. You got to learn this. Anyway, so if I say, so currently I don't have ASP.NET here, ASP.NET _ development. I want that because I want to get full error pages instead of just something that tells me something happened bad. I don't want that. I want to see the stack trace. I want to see all the inner exceptions and whatnot, right? So I need to set the environment variable here, but let's do that with the PowerShell. And if I say set alias or set item, okay, and again, item might be a file, an environment based on the provider you were using. Set item, ASP.NET core, right? Environment, and if I say development, and let's do that, and now let's say ls, and then I can see, good, I mean, I can see this here. Is it enough? Let's check it out. Windows environment variables. Hey guys, welcome to the chat. Well, welcome to the video, live coding session, whatever. All right, so let's look at it here. I don't see it. I don't see ASP.NET core _ development in my system variables, neither, or under my personal or user variables. I don't see it. That means something like if I go here and open a new session, right? And if I say set location, and then again environment, and now I say ls, let's look at it. Do I see ASP.NET core, ASP.NET, the new environment variable I set? No. Because guys, it is a scope, it's a session scoped variable. So this is not exactly what I want. Of course, this might be what you want. That's great if you care about it. But what I care about is that I want my project, I want to set it in my freaking global variables. So how I do that? All right, now you resort to something else, and that's the .NET framework. We're going to be using system.environment class from .NET framework itself, right from PowerShell. And that's one of the beauties and the most powerful aspects of PowerShell. Consuming .NET classes, and .NET classes have a lot of other things that a PowerShell might not have. Eventually, though, all those commandlets actually use .NET classes, but they're developed specifically for PowerShell. What I'm gonna be using here is used by any .NET type of any .NET application. So that's the difference. All right, let's actually change our drive. I changed my drive, right? So I'm now in a C drive, and again I can say get child item, or it's basically, that means ls. The same thing as an alias. ls is an alias to get child item. Anyways, I don't want to talk too much about PowerShell. It's a different topic, but I was just trying to give you some information about what is what, right? So where am I? Where's my actual project here? Okay, that's my actual project, and I have a bunch of other things here. So what I'm gonna do, so system dot environment, yeah. And then if you want to use the types instead, you can say that I want to see the members of this type. Now let's see there's so many members that that type has. And what I want to use, of course, so I can do something real quick, and I can say I want to see the static files only, or static members only, right? So in here, in static members, we have what's that called here? Can I see it somewhere? Set environment variable. That's something I care about, and well, there's more stuff here. I wish I could show you. I don't know, maybe I can show you. Can I show you that? Never mind, but I can do that, right? So what I'm now, to access a static stuff on a type, you say use double colon and then set environment variable, right? Okay, so let's give it a name. ASP.NET core environment, yeah, and then development All right, now this is the moment of truth. So if you do that, it's not gonna be enough. You gotta specify the scope here, and I don't exactly remember the scope. Let me see if where the scope thing is. It was like a machine name, no, not machine name. Again, I mean, it's unfortunately not easy to remember. So let's copy this first. I want to. All right, let's copy this guy first, because I wish I can see machine name. All right, where is it? So we're just gonna look at the documentation right here. And system, all right, environment, set environment variable, doc. I want to see the overloads, and then that's the environment variable I was looking at, right? And if you look at this guy, environment variable, I wish I could click here, but I can't. Oh, here, never mind. We have environment variable target, right? So what's the target? It's a local, or it's a machine, it's a process. What the hell? And I want it to be for machine, right? I can do for process. I can do for user. Maybe user is better too. I don't know. Let's go with the user, I guess. I think the user, I kind of like user better. Well, no, let's do machine. Why not, right? We can do that. So here, environment, I think that's how you use it, right? Variable, might be not, variable target. Now I wonder if you treat your, okay, just give me a second. Okay, I think I just have to say machine here and pray for it. No, okay, no, it didn't work. Environment variable target. Let me see if it's correct. Environment variable target. I wonder if I'm supposed to use it like a static instead. I knew it and I forgot, because I don't use enums much in my freaking PowerShell stuff. So I gotta remember what that was. All right, come on, show me a good example. Why do you act like that? I assume, yeah, I feel like I should do this. Not feel like, I think I know what I should do. So this is, I'll have to treat it as a, it's probably system dot, yeah. All right, it did something for sure. All right, so we got that going. So let's look at system or environment variables. All right, moment of truth. Let's look at it. And I still don't see it. Oh yeah, I see it now, sorry. Yeah, it's under system variables, right? And ASP.NET Core environment. And the value is development. So this is a persistent operation, or yeah. So if I restart my computer, it will be right there instead of, you know, going away with the process, with the session. And I can also change it, right? I mean, if I want it to be like user, right? Let's look at this, how that, where's that? Okay, let's look at it again, if I can see it. Yeah, it's right here. Of course, it's not automatically refreshing itself, so I gotta cancel out of this and then go back here. And it's right here under user. So again, the same thing. Now I can remove this or I can remove that. I don't care. I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is, I haven't decided yet, and this does not really matter much. But if you want it to be a machine wide, that means people are coming, like if someone else uses your computer, and they're going to be getting the same stuff as well. But if you do for users, you're not going to affect their environment with your newly created environment variable. So I think I'll go with this one, because again, I mean, let's delete that guy over here. All right, so let's do something real quick, and I'll go with a new session, right? So this session didn't have the ASP.NET stuff in it, so I wanna do ls again, and let's see, we got it right, and we don't get it. I wonder if it doesn't get all users profile. You're supposed to get. Let's create a new session. And ls, give me ASP.NET. Yeah, now I can see it. Interesting row, right? The previous one is telling me is that this guy is cached those environment variables and didn't make another request, another round trip to the actual location of where my system or user environment variables are stored. And that's just, mind you guys, this may bite you, right? But when I create a new session, it actually made that round trip and got everything again, and now I can see ASP.NET _ environment variable right there. So don't assume automatically that just because you added a new environment variable, it will reflect your current session. No, it's not going to happen, obviously. I mean, this is what I see. Great. So okay, I guess it's almost an hour we've been doing this video for. So I want to take it slowly, right? So no rush. I want to push them first, and then hopefully we're gonna end this video with all the knowledge that hopefully we learned in this an hour. Okay, so let me. By the way, this has a great Git support writer, and you can compare with branch. If you don't know the Git, Git command line much, you can also do everything you pretty much do with a Git command line right here on the writer ID. They have a great support for Git. And look at this. I mean, you can see your local branch. So you can create a new branch. You can tag a revision, and that's your remote branch. You can do a bunch of stuff. You can change branches right here. If you have multiple branches, you can say, I want to work on this branch. I want to work in this branch, and you can do that right here. And then also, what I really like about these guys is their comparison tool. It's amazing. And like I've been using Beyond Compare for a long while. But these guys have a much better comparison tool for stuff like this, for coding and stuff like that. So if I just double click here, of course, it's very big for you to see, but I'll just make it small. You see that it has this support, and you can actually see compilation errors here in the diff. If you type in something is bad, it'll tell you it's bad. Of course, this is not bad, and that's good. You can also change things here, and you can get things from here. Like you can do pretty much everything. You can edit your files, right? And for instance, I don't have any test file, but anyways, so you can just double click here, and you see whatever has changed, right? All right. It also, I don't know, if there's any analysis problems like warnings, errors, and stuff like that, you're gonna be seeing them here as well, and that's amazing. That's something you don't see all the time with diff tools. And again, this is also important. You have T8. All right. So you have that, and you can also say by Control K or Command K on Macs. You can also see the change list here, and you can directly commit them. Let me actually do this. And as you see, you can see the diff in here, and you can just side by side with Unified Viewer if you want to see all in one file, right? And then I don't know, you have highlight words, highlight lines, all that crap, all that stuff. All right, you also have this collapse unchanged fragments. If you don't want to see the things that are changed, go ahead and collapse them, right? And then if you do like side-by-side view, and you have options like, where's that? Right, it's probably just for that guy. All right, all that good, and I'm not gonna spend much time on this things, but Writer is a great IDE. Go and give it a try. So I want to commit everything here, saying edit NuGet packages for logging and for mocking, right? And let's commit this, and by saying Control Shift, oops, interesting. Control Shift K. Now I have the option to push them, and I can just say, well, if you need a force push, you can do that. But if you just say push, and now it's out in the wild. Now you can see it's right here. Let's see, generic pipeline. Yeah, go ahead and review this if you're interested in. Go ahead and review this, and you'll see everything we did right here. Okay. All right, guys. It was a great session. Again, we're gonna complete this project, hopefully. It's not gonna be easy because what I'm thinking about this project will take some time, take a while, but that's fine. And hope to see you again.